the next level of your career isn't about doing more, but becoming more. In this powerful episode, my guest shares how unlearning the noise, owning your story, and stepping into with purpose can help you live with confidence and transform your career path. Welcome to Keys to the Future. I'm your host, Gabby Coe. I've enjoyed a successful engineering career and I am passionate about empowering the next generation of STEM leaders. Together, we'll dive into the journeys of trailblazers who are changing the world and uncover the insights that will help you unlock the future you're meant to create. Let's get started. Today's guest lives up to his bold nickname. He's the leadership coach, speaker, and engineer who's passionate about helping young STEM professionals grow in confidence, self awareness, and purpose. With a background in chemical engineering and experience in both corporate and entrepreneurial spaces, he brings a unique take on leadership and personal development. He's a certified Maxwell leadership speaker and coach, host of the IncrediPaul podcast, and content creator who tackles real topics like healing, self awareness, and breaking toxic habits. He holds a degree in chemical engineering with a biomedical engineering minor from Iowa State University. Please welcome Paul Faronbi, also known as IncrediPaul. Paul, thank you so much for sharing your journey with the Keys to the Future community.
Gabby, thank you so much for having me. And that was an incredible intro. I don't know if I could do much better than that.
Well, let's I'm really excited to get into the conversation and learn more about your journey. So let's start there. What inspired you to pursue chemical engineering and how did that path evolve into coaching and diversity, equity, and inclusion advocacy?
I can definitely share more about that. Believe it or not, chemical engineering was a backup for me. And I say backup, Paul, what do you mean? Like that seems like a pretty good career. Yes, but from when I was 4 years old up until I was 18, I wanted to be a doctor. The whole thing was I want to help people, I want to become a doctor. And that was my mantra really from 4 until I was 18. Didn't really think about it. It really wasn't until when I was applying to different colleges, I believe it was at the University of Missouri, I was saying that I was a pre-med major, and then they finally said, like, pre-med is not a major. You need to actually choose something. And then, yeah, so I was like, okay, newsflash for me. So I had conversations with my dad, who happens to be an engineer, and I've always liked math and science. And I said, okay, if I can't go into become a doctor, I want to do something that's more applied besides just biology and chemistry. And so I looked at biomedical engineering or chemical engineering. I ended up choosing Iowa State that did not have a biomedical engineering major. And so I chose chemical engineering because the biomedical aspects of that were more closer to what I wanted to do, more on the human body and human and animals, as opposed to biological systems, more on the plant side. And I knew I wanted to be more on the living creature side of things. So I did undergraduate research all 4 years, and that really cemented my focus on chemical engineering. And from there, I had internships while I was in college and wanted to do more stuff on the strictly more corporate side and actually see the work I was doing in stores. So that led me along that route. I was always really involved in different student organizations. So that's kind of transitioning towards like what led me towards coaching and STEM advocacy, DEI work. And so I was always involved in different student organizations. I was involved with Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, even though I have not one drop of Hispanic blood in my body. I became part of the familia, and it was a really good community. I was the treasurer for 2.5 years. At one point, they wanted me to be president, and I was like, I don't know if I should be president because I don't speak Spanish at all. And I was still really part of that community. I was also part of the National Society of Black Engineers. Also helped found a student organization called iResearch. And so I think that was the foundations that led me to what I'm doing now with coaching. And I feel like I've been talking for a while, so I don't know if there's any questions you have or you think the audience might have.
No, no, I think that's amazing. You said chemical engineering wasn't your first choice, but you probably took some courses early on in college and then maybe uncovered some topics and subjects that you liked that then led you to be have a little bit more focus on what you wanted to do. Maybe like you said, medicine wasn't the thing that you wanted to go towards, but uncovering some of those topics led you to more chemical engineering. And then you also said something that I like because you mentioned internships. And I think that really helps people get that hands on experience that will lead them to say, hey, I really didn't really dig this much. Let me try something else, right? And or I really like doing this. Like I went for an internship in the summer and I really like doing what I did. And let me go and dive deeper. So I think that's really important to exploration early on in your college career. And then you also said involved with organizations, even though you didn't feel like you identify with Hispanics, right, in that organization, but you really identify with like minded individuals. And that's all that matters. There are so many organizations that kind of have an affinity,
Hmm.
but doesn't mean that just because you don't have that affinity, you can't participate. So, but the major thing that I took away from that is that you look to join an organization that had like minded individuals. So, I love that. I really love that. So, now tell me a little bit more about this because you've embraced the nickname IncrediPaul and built a brand around it. What does it mean to be incredible to you? And how does this identity shape your approach to leadership and also coaching?
Yeah, that's a really good question. To me, being incredible is it's a process. I don't think it's necessarily a destination. It's finding something that you're passionate about it and wholeheartedly pursuing it and looking for the opportunities to become a little bit better every day. The whole mission behind IncrediPaul is empowering young professionals in STEM to become the most incredible versions of themselves. I phrase it like that because it's still a version of you. It's the most incredible version of you. I don't want you to try to become someone else. I think it's really easy in the culture and the world that we live in to try to emulate other people. And I think you can to a certain extent, but at the same time, there's only one version of you. So it's really important that you don't lose yourself and really hone in on your authenticity. So I was talking to someone the other day, and she happens to be a coach as well, and we were talking about the different things that we value, and we both realized that authenticity is something that we both value. And it's like everyone that I've had on my show and the people I really gravitate to have a higher level of authenticity. They're not afraid to be themselves, whether that seems different from people. Some people call it quote weird or just maybe a little bit out there. But like I resonate the most with people who just want to be themselves and they're not trying to put on a show for anyone. So the stuff I do with coaching or with speaking, being Maxwell Leadership certified, like the whole mission behind Maxwell Leadership is adding value to people because we value people and everyone deserves to be led well. And so when I launched IncrediPaul in 2020, it was really because I things slowed down enough. So I was at the time I was working for a company, I was traveling like 75, 80% of the time. And when COVID hit in mid March, I went from traveling that much to traveling zero. And it really was only for a few months because I picked the projects I was working on had to go on. So I went back to traveling a ton during COVID, just 3, 4 months later. But in those few months, I was able to formalize a lot of the work I had already been doing. So in 2017, I had the honor of starting a nonprofit. Well, it wasn't a nonprofit at the time. We formalized it as an official nonprofit later, but it was an organization partnering with Iowa State University to form a grant from the National Science Foundation to help minorities in STEM, diversity, equity, and inclusion. But it was really focused on the research component, grad schools, creating community. And so it was me, myself, and my co-founder, Queen Narte, who was also part of this grant. And so we came back to help with different conferences, form this community. And in 2020, I had reached out to an organization that was at the regional level for this grant called the Louis Stokes Midwest Regional Center of Excellence. The whole program is the Louis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation. So it's a grant for the National Science Foundation, 60 plus grants, or about, I think it's actually exactly 60 grants across the board, has a lead institution that's a university, and then they'll have other universities or colleges and community colleges a part of them, anyone from 4 to 10 all across the board. So I'd reached out to them because I wanted to see if there are other alumni associations like this that we were doing so we could partner. And they said there were not, but they were thinking about starting something and they wanted to know what we were doing. So I presented an idea to them. And then from there, they're like, oh, we love this idea. Would you consider leading it? And I was thinking, like, that was not part of the plan. Like, I was just trying to partner with someone else. I wasn't thinking about leading something. Like, I already have this thing that we're leading for Iowa State and some of the other colleges, University of Iowa, University of Northern Iowa, some other community colleges in Iowa, as well as Nebraska and in Illinois. And so I was like, I don't know what this is going to look like. So I talked with the team. And so we kind of did some restructuring so that because we were doing for that organization, I was the co-president with Queenster. And so we just aligned on her just being the president on her own. And I would go off and try to figure out what this would look like to start something that would appeal to all the other alliances across the nation. We had no idea if they even wanted something like this. And so I enlisted some friends. So Lizette Tamayo, PhD, and Natalie Fuentes, PhD. So they were also a part of this an organization that we had started, Inspire LSAP Alumni Committee. And we just try to figure out a way to have a broader reach. So the plan was to go to different conferences and from there try to build. So this was in February 2020, went to our first conference in Illinois. March of 2020, everything shut down. And so we did some building behind the scenes virtually just to figure out what this would look like. And then April 2020, I was like, you know what? I'm going to formalize all the stuff I'm doing and launch IncrediPaul. And I did that. And then October 2020, we launched at that time LSAMP Alumni Group because we had no idea if it was going to be regional or national. By the next year, we saw there's a lot of interest, so we made it national. And so this October is 5 years of NALA STEM, National Alliance Lead Acceleration of Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. So it's definitely been a team effort. And I've been doing all this stuff. I've been working full time. So I always say that there's different seasons for things. So there are times I definitely lean more into the nonprofit world with NALA STEM and more into for-profit world with IncrediPaul. I really treat right now IncrediPaul as myself and my brand. And I've been focused more on the podcast. And then as different opportunities come up for speaking or coaching, I make it pretty clear that that's stuff that I can do. And as opportunities come, I can do them.
That's amazing. And you just kind of delved into the power of reaching out to like minded individuals. That then you formed a team and ideas surfaced, and now here you are 5 years later. So, congratulations to you. That's just amazing
Thank you.
because we really need to uplift each other and particularly, work with those that are underrepresented so that they also have access.
Mm,
Lack of access can lead you to different paths that may not be the path that you're meant to be going down. So it's amazing. So congratulations on that.
thank
Now,
you.
you help Gen Z professionals navigate through the overlooked human side of STEM, leadership, resilience, and purpose. I'd like to unpack that a little bit more. Can you share what you mean by that?
Yeah, so I help a lot of Gen Z, but I would say it's only Gen Z. So the age range I help is from 20 to 40. So like 20 to, I think the oldest Gen Z people are like 27. So it's a large majority of it. But then there's a lot of millennials as well. I think the biggest thing is just understanding that STEM is hard. And that's something I talk about because I think sometimes when we get into things, we can think that we were always good at math and science growing up. Everything came easy. So like it's going to continue to be easy. And there comes a time, I know maybe there's some people that go through it easy throughout, but I think everyone has at least one class or one semester where things are really hard. And I don't want them to think that just because it's hard means that it's not for them. There's an aspect of an imposter syndrome behind it, that they feel like, oh, it's hard, I don't get it. And really understanding that they need to create these communities. So that I'm super intentional about creating communities that I've been called a community builder. And honestly, that was not a name I gave myself. I realized that in a lot of different areas I've built communities, whether it was at Iowa State with forming a new student organization, to this alumni association I founded, to all the stuff I'm doing in IncrediPaul or in Now STEM or other communities I'm a part of, even outside of the stuff that I created. And just understanding the power of relationships, the power of mentorship is what really makes a difference.
Absolutely. I loved everything you said. I also think STEM is hard, but not impossible, right? And if you form that community of other people that are maybe in the same class, right? Having the same challenges, and together is better type of mentality, you get through it. So your podcast is called IncrediPaul, like you mentioned, Impactful Conversations. What makes a conversation impactful to you, especially as we share our experiences to help others down a similar path?
For me, it comes down to the authenticity. And I kind of mentioned earlier, authenticity and just understanding that there are so many different paths that people take. So that was something that I realized, and I've talked about it a lot of times on different panels, and when I've spoken about, a lot of times we go into a specific STEM degree and then we say we come out and we're going to go exactly this one direction. And I made a mistake of, when graduating chemical engineering, I thought I would know everything I need to know about chemical engineering, which is not possible. Like, there's always something to learn. But I thought, no, it's like, I'm gonna know everything, and then it'll be fine. I don't know what I was thinking. I mean, I was young. I was 22. It was like, I mean, still young now at 31, but I know way more now than I did then. And then even understanding that even if you go into a degree and you enjoy it and you start working, that doesn't mean that you have to work in something that's directly related to your degree. Like, after you start working, all that really matters is the experiences that you get. And whether that's in the corporate space or even in the entrepreneurial space, like you mentioned, I do a little bit of both, is that understanding and looking at what are the things that you do well and really honing in on your strengths. I think it is important to, if you have weaknesses, especially in effective relationship building or networking, that you work on that to make sure it's at a certain level. But I think even more so, understand what your strengths are and focus on that. Because I think a lot of times when people say that they have a gift, they think that the gift is an excuse not to work hard and just let it happen. But I think, yeah, you're right, because you definitely agree that if you have a gift, I think that means you should need to work even harder at it, because that means that if you put 4 hours out of work, you'll get this amount. And if I put that much, I'll only get this amount. So the more effort you put in, you're going to get so much out of it. And people need to see and actually experience your gift, because your gift is actually not for you. It's for someone else. And other people's gifts are for you. So understanding that, honing in on that, and not trying to use your gift for yourself is something that I continue to have to work on.
I love that. Like you said, just because you have this gift or you feel that things are easy for you in a certain area, and you kind of like maybe take the mode of, well, I can coast through it, right? But if you put the energy that is going to even improve that skill set for you, and you can share that knowledge with others, it's powerful. So I love that. And you also said in the beginning, so not everybody has the same path. I mean, we share our knowledge and our experiences not to have people go down the same path, but to share that knowledge and experience to help people through their own path. Maybe they're having a challenge with a particular subject in school. You'll get it done. Build that community, go to office hours, talk to other students that are coasting through that class that can help you. So, all of those little tips and things that we've learned over our own paths and our own experiences can help you decide for yourself, okay, let me go and try this other thing. Or it can lead you to another person that can help you as well. So I think that building that community is really a primary thing for anyone at any level and in any situation, I believe. Don't you think?
Absolutely. Building a community, and I can't overstress how important mentorship is. Finding people that are doing something that you're interested in, or even if it's not necessarily they're doing something you're interested in, if it's like within the same organization that there's several steps ahead of you that can help guide you. There's a difference between mentorship and sponsorship. But I think at the very least, like having a mentor that's there that you can ask different questions. I know earlier on for me, like I'll give him a shout out, Brian Thomas. I met him at a conference in 2015 in Chicago, Illinois, and he was working in corporate. He was working in manufacturing. He was also doing a lot of stuff in speaking. He had a family, all these different things. And he was just really inspirational and really challenged me to do more. Actually, it was actually in 2014 the first time I met him. And that inspired me to continue on my journey to become an engineer, to do additional things. Because my exposure to actually doing anything with podcasting was with him. Because we were at one time we are going to try and do a podcast for him, and then we just didn't end up panning out. But there's a lot of other stuff he was doing, and we were focused on that. And he had like a weekly professional development call that he was doing. And so that was like my first exposure, like even, I think I was probably like 3 years or 2 years before I even thought about having a podcast, not about even having a podcast. So it's just the mentors, the different experiences you have. And another mentor was Chelsea Hayes. So she's a full-time entrepreneur. I met her at a conference while I was working at General Mills, connected, and I was trying to figure out how to formulate the stuff for IncrediPaul, what are the stuff I needed. Like she was really helpful in understanding like these are the things I need as far as like really positioning myself, sharing what I am doing as opposed to like sharing stuff that's just like seems like a resume, but more stuff like these are just the things I can actually do. Actually connected me with the graphic artist that created the IncrediPaul logo, this one and the other one that people see everywhere. So she was really instrumental as well. She still is. We're still in contact with both of them.
And as you network and connect with others, you find inspiration. And something that you said was exposure. I like that because by reaching out to others, you get exposed to different things, different topics, different venues, different even other people that can help inspire somebody down a path or a different path. And I think that leads to more access.
Mm-hmm.
And when people have more access, then the sky is the limit. But if you're restricted access, especially with underrepresented communities, they may not have as much access that it's preventing them from knowing what's out there,
Mm-hmm.
what they can do. So I'm also interested in can our listeners begin to tap in their own incredible power as they grow personally and professionally and own their greatness.
IncrediPaul. I like that. I'm gonna start saying that. I'll credit you. I was like, Gabby was saying IncrediPaul. I like that. I think the key thing is just recognizing that you do have something to offer. I think a lot of times we can look at it comes down to social media. I mean, I have a love hate relationship with social media because I think it's really powerful and it can help connect us, but it also disconnects us from reality. I think understanding that a lot of times what's on social media is not actually, it never is someone's full life. Whether people choose to show you the wins or losses is only a portion of it. And most of the time, people don't show you your losses. Or if they do show it, they don't show all the messy pieces of it because no one really wants to know those pieces. So I think understanding that you can do it and taking the step to improve and whatever that looks like. I think a lot of times in college, especially if you're in STEM, lots of study. You don't have a lot of time to dedicate to other things. And a lot of times you just want to relax, have fun. I get it. I think a simple way you can start is by your listeners are already doing it, like listening to podcasts or reading books. And I think it doesn't have to be a lot of books. It could be just like one book in a semester, if that's how long it takes, or one book a month. But any little thing you can do to help further your development. I'm a huge proponent on student organizations, and I think most people I think know at this point, but I think with every new college class that there's the emphasis on making sure that you're developing your leadership skills. You can learn all the skills, but if you don't apply them, then did you really learn anything? Learning is all, knowledge is only as good as you can apply it. So I think getting involved in the student organization and not just going there to eat pizza, which I was definitely there. That was why I joined the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers in the first place. I was like, oh, there's this meeting, there's pizza, sign me up.
And that's how it starts.
Yeah, that's how it starts, but I think it's important you don't let it stay there. Connect with people because you never know where those relationships are going to go. Like I mentioned, Natalie Fuentes, I met her at a Society of Hispanic Professionals ship meeting in 2013 in Iowa State. We both went to Iowa State. Like we're still connected to this day, 12 years later. Like we've done a lot of different things together, whether it was starting a student organization at Iowa State. She also helped start the Alumni Association through LSM. And then I also brought her along to help with all the stuff with NALA STEM. And then we're still connected. She's doing a lot of great work on the East Coast. And it's funny that we were reflecting on it the other day is that we are definitely closer and have a better relationship now after college than we did in college, just from the very nature of the stuff that we've been doing, even though we have not lived in the same city since we were in college.
That's amazing. I want to like highlight something that you said because as you own your greatness, then you can bring others along. You brought Natalie along to do other great things together, and then you brought probably expanded your team to do
Yes.
to expose others and have others have that access. I really love that. So what would you say is one mindset shift that can lead you to transforming your career?
A mindset shift is really understanding that you own your career. I think a lot of times when we go into the job interview and the job search and all this stuff is really difficult for people who are coming out of college. So I think there's different strategies you can take to set yourself apart. But once you're there, I think it's only your career. I think a lot of times people think that if they just work hard and just do what everyone is telling them to do, that everything will work out in the end. And it'll work out in the end for whoever's telling you what to do. But the thing is, like, what they're telling you to do and what you want to do might not be the same thing. I would say if you don't know what you want to do, I think that's fine. Like, work with different mentors or different people on your team, hire your line manager, whatever it is, to help guide you and bring opportunities. But a lot of times, I think people get frustrated when things don't work out the way they want, but they don't express what they want in the first place.
That's a good point. That's a good point. You have to own your goals and then go get after it so that you take those steps with the help of your community to get you there to where you want to end up. And then I think be intentional. Be intentional is also important. So as we close our conversation, this wonderful conversation, where can people connect with you?
The best way to connect with me is probably on LinkedIn or from my website. On my website, if you go to IncrediPaul, INCREDI Paul.org, you can see all the things that I'm doing, whether it's the coaching, speaking, like links to podcasts. I also have a newsletter. It's weekly resources on leadership are on there. So you can see all the different ways to connect with me. I'm also on LinkedIn. You search my name, Paul Faronbi, and then I have a different page set up for IncrediPaul. So you can see all the stuff that's related to podcasts, different specific stuff related to IncrediPaul. And then Nala STEM also has its own page as well. So like there's all the different things that I'm doing. If you connect with me, I post stuff about both things. So if you are specifically interested in IncrediPaul, you can go to that page, or NalaStem, you can go to that page, and then you go to nalastem.com to learn more about that and become a member, because we're always looking for people who resonate with our mission to unite, support, and build community among all historically excluded peoples in STEM.
Paul, thank you so much for sharing your journey with the Keys to the Future community.
Thank you so much for having me, Gabby. It's an honor being on the show, and I really appreciate the questions you've asked.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. Stay ahead in your STEM journey. Follow Keys to the Future on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts, Instagram and Facebook for the latest insights, tips, and inspiration to help you thrive in your career.